So it's 4:40. I need to push this out by a minute. Okay, councillors, staff, members of the gallery, welcome to this ordinary council meeting of the Armidale Regional Council of 28 September 2022. Could I please call upon Councillor Robinson to do the civic affirmation?
Okay. We, the councillors of the Armidale region, declare that we will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of our community and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Could I call upon Councillor O'Connor to do the acknowledgement of country?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is the recognition of traditional owners. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. The Armidale regional community pays tribute to their love of land, love of people and love of culture.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Could I call upon the General Manager to make a statement regarding live streaming?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recordings of the non-confidential parts of the meeting will be made available on the internet. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by council to do so. And can I ask that all mobile phones please be either switched off or switched to silent? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillors, I have not received any apologies or requests for leave of absence and am delighted to see you all here today. The next one is disclosure of interest. Councillors, having reviewed the agenda, do any of you need to declare a conflict of interest? Councillor McMichael? She will go.
As per item number 11.1 in the Armidale Neighbourhood Centre, I'm a board member, and when it comes to the discussion and resolution, I will leave the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor McMichael and Councillor Gadders.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to disclose a non-pecuniary interest for item 15.1 of the closed section, as I'm a board member of NIRAM.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gadders.
Mr Mayor, just adding, I intend to leave the meeting at the time that we're discussing that item.
Terrific. Thank you.
you.
All right, councillors, the first item on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 24th of August. Having reviewed those, could I call for a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor McMichael, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Mepham. Any discussion on those minutes? Let's put that to a vote. All those in favour of confirming the minutes, thank you. I declare that one carried. We don't have any. We don't have a mayoral minute in this open session, so we now go to item 8.1, the Integrated Planning and Reporting Delivery Program and Operational Plan. So this report provides an update as to the progress of Council's operational plan and delivery program for the period from January to June 2022. The details are on page 7 of the agenda and page 22 of the attachments. Can I have a mover for what's on the screen? Thank you, Councillor Galletley, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Anything to add, Councillor Galletley? No, thank you. No from Councillor Redwood. Councillors, anyone wish to say anything? All right, let's put that to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously as well. Councillors, we now move to item 8.2, which is the Council Actions Report. So the report summarises the actions taken on resolutions of Council for the period from January to August 2022, and Council is being asked to note this report. Can I have a mover for what's on the screen? Thank you, Councillor Gadders, and a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Witters. Anything to say, Councillor Gadders? Councillor Witters? No. If there are no other points to discuss, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you for noting that report. I declare that one carried unanimously as well. Right. Item 8.3, the fourth quarter budget review. So this report provides council with information on the fourth quarter revised budget position, and it asks details of this are found on page 11 of the agenda and from page 73 of the attachments. Councillors are being asked to note the fourth quarter budget review, note the unrestricted cash forecast, note the proposed reduction in capital expenditure from 41 million to 28.5 million as a result of the budget review, resolve to amend the 2021-22 budget, and to carry forward unspent amounts to provide funding for projects commenced and expected to be completed in the 22-23 financial year. So we have that a recommendation on the screen. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Galletley, and the seconder is Councillor Witters. Anything to add, Councillor? Anything, Councillor Witters? Other councillors, anyone wish to speak to this motion? All right, let's put it to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. We now come to 9.1, the cash and investment reporting, or cash and investment report for 31 August 2022. So it's an overview of the cash and investments for the month ended 31 August 2022, details from page 16 of the agenda. So council is being asked to note the report. Could I have a mover for this? It's on the screen, please. Thanks, Councillor Witters, and Councillor Gadders is the seconder. Nothing to say. Let's put this one to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 9.2 is the investment policy, the annual review. So council's investment policy is required to be reviewed annually and provides guidance on investment of surplus funds. The details of this can be found from page 22 of the agenda. Council is being asked to note the annual review of the report, note that there are no proposed amendments or updates, note the policy is not required to be placed on public exhibition as no changes are proposed. Do I have a mover for this? Thank you, Councillor Witters, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Does anything... Councillor Witters, would you like to speak to this at all? Councillor O'Brien? All right. All those in favour of the motion, please. Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. We now come to item 11.1. I note Councillor McMichael has declared an interest, so we'll just wait. All right, councillors, 11.1 is the increase in the annual financial contribution to the Armidale Neighbourhood Centre. Council received 4 submissions following the 28-day public exhibition period. Details are from page 25 of the agenda and 105 of the attachments. Council is being asked to note the submissions and adopt the increased financial contribution. Do I have a mover for what's on the screen? Thank you, Councillor O'Brien, and a seconder, Councillor Robinson. Councillor O'Brien, would you care to speak?
Yeah, I might say a few words. I noticed during the COVID lockdown that we didn't really know who was in trouble, who was stranded, who needed to be reached. And we didn't really have very strong links to those who could give us that information. And I thought it was a bit of a weakness in terms of our capacity to support the whole of the community, particularly those that the more vulnerable people in the community. And there are people who know what's going on in the community. And I think it's really crucial that we do, and to form a partnership with community service, I think is crucial to ensuring that we do have the possibility of reaching out and supporting and knowing what's going on in the community. Now, we already help the various sectors of the community in many, many ways. When the farmers are in trouble, yes, we rallied together and got hay and water, and we always listen, and we should help them. And business, and they have good representation, so the farmers will often let us know what's going on, and that's great. And the business sector, we know very much what's going on, and that's great. We help them whenever we can. And there are various other people in the community I feel are confident enough and connected enough to walk in and put pressure on us lots of times. But there are people in the community that don't have those connections, that don't have that confidence to walk in. And I think since we have connections with various other sectors, it's really important that we hear from those who represent the most vulnerable people in our community. And we do it for many reasons. One, it's our responsibility as a council to make sure we do represent everybody. But also in a crisis, we do have links with people who we can do a much better job of catering to people when there's a problem. It is also our duty as councillors to represent all the community, and where there's a weakness in that connection, I think it's very important we move now to make sure those links are strengthened. The community sector, or the community service sector, does have that. They do know what's going on the ground, and we have our connections to government. So it's important that we, as the Mayor often says, join those dots to make sure that things can work better for the whole community. Why the Armadale Neighbourhood Centre? Well, most community services are specialist. The Armadale Neighbourhood Centre is more of a generalist, although they do have some of their own programs. They're a frontline, referral service. And the others, for example, might be in housing and disability, but we need a generalist one that we can have a good partnership. It also refers people to financial, if they're having trouble paying bills, to financial assistance. And I think since we, may soon be raising the rates, I think there will be certain sectors of the community may struggle, and I think it is our responsibility to ensure that we are part of that contribution to the safety net if we can. And I think the Neighbourhood Centre will benefit by being able to extend its hours, which means they'll be there for emergencies. And any days the Neighbourhood Centre is closed is a possible emergency not addressed. And we need to get in early for some of those because it can be a matter of life or death. A lot of people will say giving the money to a worker is not actually money for the poor, but my response to that is a referral to a service that helps you pay bills, to help with emergency accommodation, to help with food and clothing is money to the needy. Also, days without that frontline service is a gap in community services. And of course, we need to ensure that our support produces valuable community outcomes. And there are many ways to measure this, and we have professional people who can measure this. But it's also ensuring there's a strong reporting link to perhaps a community liaison person in council. I'm making this up. It's not up to me to decide how it happens, but some sort of official reporting link. We also must bear in mind that those sort of relationships we're building are not that easy or easy to quantify. But to me, I think what it is that it's valuable in that there is the council has its ear to those who represent those who are needy in the community, those who won't walk in and make their demands on the community, those who don't have strong representation. It's really important that council has that ear so that we are representing to the whole community, and that's a really great start in terms of making that gap closed. So I strongly support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Robinson was the seconder, so I might ask her to, if she'd like to. Councillor O'Connor, could you just switch yours off? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, very, very briefly, this is a valuable service that helps hundreds of people in our community. And I suspect it represents far better value for our money than a lot of other things on which we might spend it. And we should also remember that if we don't look after the vulnerable members of the community, then we all suffer. But on the other hand, if we help them when they're in trouble and allow them to live and prosper, then in the long run, it will be better for the entire community. So I support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to make a few notes based on some concerns that have been expressed to me from the community. I support what my fellow councillors O'Brien and Robinson have said already. I do think that this is a work in progress, the money that we are proposing to give to support the operations of, which means basically wages. Some people might balk at that initially and think, what are we doing supporting, wages for an organisation that really we don't control. However, I think it's quite well known that whilst there are many, many government grants available for distinct projects, it's really, really devilishly hard for any community organisations, but in particular, I think the Armidale Neighbourhood Centre to actually secure external funding for operational costs. That means wages and their basic day-to-day overheads. And I think it's appropriate that this community support that kind of expenditure. But this is something for us to be, if you like, eternally vigilant about, because as I think most people in the community and around this table would know, and in this room would know, this is fundamentally a state government obligation, and we should be ever, ever vigilant of accepting cost shifting from the New South Wales government to ourselves. Having said that, I think that this, it's absolutely critical for the Armidale Neighbourhood Centre in times of rising need, especially food needs, and Armidale Neighbourhood Centre plays a very big role in the network of 6 or 7 outlets that provide food relief to our community, and growing amounts of food relief, which is really, really worrying, I think. So it's important that we step in and actually give them the opportunity to have wage security for their staff and for their opening hours, so that they can have the confidence to go out and seek external grants, which usually, albeit for projects, which usually have around about a 10% allowance for admin costs. But rather than them having to cobble together those admin costs to form a single sort of office and staff budget, if we give them a bit of assistance by stepping in and giving them, now it gives them more freedom and security to do that work, and I'm sure they will do that work. But I want to express that it is our expectation that that will happen as a result of the ANC being given this financial support from the community. It is a work in progress, and I very much support that we're doing this at the moment, but we really need to keep an eye on the extent to which we actually step in and shoulder the burden that should be paid by another level of government.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Packham.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. So I think I expressed last time I would be a brave man who voted against this proposition, but a brave man I am when it comes to separating fact from emotion. I expressed my opinion that the service is warranted, and I can only echo what's been said about the service in itself. In my view, we can be a charitable council without being the charity. I think that comes to what some of my fellow councillors were actually saying. We can support agencies to exist and thrive in our region, but without being their underwriter or their benefactor. Simple fact is, in my mind, we can't afford to lock in this year on year, and remind the councillors here, this is a year on year commitment that we've put forward here, contribution right now. Simple fact is, we're running a deficit budget on the back of rate variations and revenue streams that we don't yet have. Fact is, there are councillors here today that don't believe the 58% rate variation or proposed rate variation is affordable to households, yet would vote to add more fuel on the fire of our financial woes with this item. Likely fact is, we're only a few months away from when Council returns asking us to approve variations to budgeted procurement actions that have cost overruns, were under-specced, require variation, or had underfunded contingency provisions. It's just what happens. We know it. Indeed, it wouldn't be the accountant in me not to highlight that there's been no business case or robust business case presented for this item. There's been no effort to define or quantify what is providing an additional $60,000 will do to alleviate Council's assumed responsibility, real or otherwise, nor assessed against other direct methods of intervention or areas which we could be involved in, like our youth. Indeed, it would be fair to say that our youth are at risk and amongst the most vulnerable sectors in our community. How then, Mr Mayor, can we fund the Neighbourhood Centre's staffing proposal if our IP&R progress report at item 4.2, which is to fund and deliver youth development activities, reports that due to ARC's financial position, Council has unfortunately limited resources to provide adequate staff to deliver the youth development program, and any funds must come from grant applications. Noting further, the program is only 25% delivered and has a status of needs attention. Is that not the same predicament as the Neighbourhood Centre? It's just that question I'm asking. Mr Mayor, our council needs to be brave enough to put our arms around the shoulders of the Neighbourhood Centre and say, sorry, not this year, because we are fully maxed out. Whatever the merit, ARC should not become the go-to bank of Armidale regional ratepayers when other funding arrangements fail to materialise, and especially when our very own position is presumably compromised. And for those reasons, I will be, sadly, voting against the proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Packham. Councillor Witters.
I do ask you to indulge me. I was making this up on the spot based on what I've heard, so if it comes out as incoherent rambling, I do apologise. Having read this report earlier this afternoon and the submissions, and then listening to other councillors, my thoughts on it are, yes, council's main role is the 3 R's: roads, rates, rubbish, and looking after that and everything else. One of our other roles, and I'll have to borrow from Scooby-Doo and say remunity, meaning the community, sometimes we go into deficits for them. Good example is the pool. It runs at a deficit every year, but as a community service, we run it and open it every year. As someone who, in my younger days, when my older kids were little, had to utilise the services of the neighbourhood centres in regards to finding housing and employment and a few other different things, I understand the value of it. One of the issues I faced at the time was not knowing who was going to be working there. So the continuity of what you're trying to achieve as a person going in and out all the time, and not knowing whether you're talking to Susie or whether you're talking to Steve or whether you're talking to Mike each time you go in, makes it fairly difficult. So if the money that's being proposed is used to keep a single person there and keep that continuity for the people who are utilising that service and gives them confidence to go in there regularly, then that's a good use of the money. But it also, having the same person there could also look for, they have the time to look for grants and everything else to help with funding and other ways to help supply this funding. So I was tossing up. I remember a few years ago I spoke against giving the neighbourhood centre another $20,000 because it was taken from Peter and giving to Paul at the time, giving from one bucket to the other, and we couldn't afford it. But having again had one of my older children utilise some of the new services down there recently, I can see the benefits of what it's trying to do in the current climate we have within our community of some of the issues that have been raised here. I think this will help the community, and as has been mentioned before, when other parts of the community have needed a hand, we've dipped into our pockets and dipped into our time to help them out. The people that utilise that aren't the people that are going to come here making a noise and putting pressure on councillors, because a lot of the times they're too ashamed to do it, and they just want things to be done. They're surviving day to day. They're not worried about what's on tomorrow, they're worried about today. So if we can help them get through today so they've got it tomorrow, then I think it's a good use of the money, and also looking after that 4th R of remunity.
Thank you very much, Councillor Witters, and to Scooby-Doo. Councillor Galletley.
I'll just remind the councillors, I think it was a couple of months ago we went well, a lot of the councils, some councils couldn't spend the time to go down and have a look at the community centre, and walking through their experience and experiencing it, and asking the odd question. The thing that really got me with it to say, yes, we really need this, is with the wages side of it, is that these generic government forms to fill out, any of those that I've tried to do, I cannot do. That the people down there that are running it, they've been taught in how to do this, and it's such an easy thing to give the people a hand. I mean, I actually take on Councillor O'Connor's her vast experience with education in her bringing up, and Councillor Packham's extensive knowledge in accountancy. I think even they'd have trouble filling out some of these forms that these people have to fill out. So, as far as it being up the front on the desk or just into wages for people to be teaching other people how to do this, I just think it's a very essential thing. But it'd be good if we did have the money that we could even do lessons in how to fill out a generic government form, even as some of our council forms are a little bit dicey. But if you went down and experienced what they do, I don't think there'd be too many people that would knock them back. But thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Galletley. Councillor O'Brien, as the mover, would a right of reply?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, and thank you for all your arguments. I'd like to take issue with Councillor Packham's characterising my and Councillor O'Connor and Councillor Robinson's argument as emotional. When we defend the farmers, it's not emotional. When we defend business, it's not emotional. But when we defend the poor, somehow it's emotional. Not one of my arguments was emotional. I talked about a pragmatic connection with a community service so that we could be a partnership in a crisis. I talked about democratic representation and that there are some people whose voices won't be heard because of that poor representation, how we can balance that out as our responsibility. And I talked about our duty of care, how we might best achieve that through this partnership. I don't think any of those were emotional. I think they were pragmatic, as we must be, and I still support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, councillors, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. I declare the motion carried 9-1. Thank you, Brad. Councillors, we now go to item 12.1, the Keypillar Working Group. Minutes of meetings held between July and September. So Council is being asked to note the minutes of the meetings held between July and September. Details are on page 28 of the agenda and 126 of the attachments. So we're being asked to note the various minutes. So I suggest that in the discussion, once the motion is moved, that the chairs of the respective pillars may want to give an overview of what's been going on in their actions to date and also what the group is looking to achieve. So there is a recommendation on the screen. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Galletley, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Councillor Galletley, do you wish to speak to this, as I think you are one of the chairs on that?
I am objective, but we can speak after we've been moved.
Sure. Okay. All right. Councillors, would anyone wish to speak to any of this, just in regards to the working groups you're on?
I'll just have a quick little natter. Just as far as our little working group goes, Councillor O'Brien and myself have decided that we'll be co-chairs on this so that we can. Sorry, I'd better give you the term. I better. We are the. Geez, now you've got me. No, it's the. I've got it just here.
Your deliverable.
It is the livable. It's the orange one. It's the livable, which is the practical and planning part of it, which covers public spaces and infrastructure that facilitates health, community connection, and opportunities. So that's the role. Thank you. But I did have it here. We've just got a couple of little projects that we put together. The fellas at Ben Lomond with their star watching, they're doing a little thing down in the mall, so that's pretty good. We've got Backtrack and the Keeping Place coming together with a group to do a bit of a arty, sculpture sort of thing for us. What else we got there, Deb? That's but anyway, we got a couple of things up and going. We've had one meeting. We're yet to get all of our community members of it. We got probably 4 of those that are coming in to sit in there. But anyway, it's a cosy little crew we've got, so we're pretty happy we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gillespie. Councillor Gadders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me maybe just give a few brief sort of updates as chair of the Growing Region Group. Obviously, it's a group formed with myself, Councillor Redwood, Councillor Copeland, and also with Mr. Boyce and Mr. Schaefer. We have sat down and taken the opportunity to look at the areas that we'd like to focus on in this particular Growing Region Group. And out of that, we've actually worked or focused towards 4 specific pillars that we would like to pay attention to. Those, and I realise that pillar is a very common word these days. In terms of the pillars that we're looking at, it is a focus on the airport. It is a focus on the renewable energy zone. It's a focus on tourism, and also a focus on expanding and developing existing business in our LGA. So we've taken those 4 pillars. We've also taken the opportunity to look at the projects that are coming through from the Community Strategic Plan, as well as the projects that are hot topics that we see that for the region's growth. And we've taken the opportunity to identify those, prioritise those, and then ultimately list what we think is the initial projects, which you will see there in the minutes. So out of those 4 pillars, we've got an initial focus on both the airport and tourism. We've identified some near-term and some long-term projects in each of those pillars, and we're actively working on those throughout many follow-up meetings. Now that we've done that identification and we've got a few of the initial steps, we're also looking forward to involving community groups going forward that are specific to those particular projects. So I think we've had great progress. I think we've got some very good strategic direction, and look forward to getting some community groups involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Witters.
Yeah, just quickly about the enriched region. Both Councillor McMichael and myself are on that. We don't have a chair or anything. We had a quick meeting a couple of months back, and we spoke about focusing on an issue for, say, 6 to 8 weeks, and getting people in on those issues that have the expertise on that issue, and just really working on that one instead of having 5 or 6, 7, 8 different issues, really working hard on the one issue. And one of the examples is around I think we had a motion last time about health professionals and all that sort of stuff. So the Attract, Connect, Stay initiative that's around in regards to keeping health practitioners and everything else like that. So for examples like that, so working hard on those sorts of ones. So we'll get once Amy's up and about and everything else, we'll start getting hard into that.
Thank you. All righty, councillors, if there's nothing further, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour of noting what's there? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. All right, which brings us to item 14.1, which is a question on notice. So council is just being asked to note a further response to the question on notice from Councillor Robinson arising from the August meeting. Can I have a mover for what's on the screen, please? Thank you, Councillor Robinson, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Robinson, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, councillors, assuming no one else wishes to discuss, could we put this to a vote? All those in favour of noting the update? Thank you. Sorry, we'll just do the vote. Councillor O'Connor? Thank you.
So,
All right.
sorry, Mr Mayor, I noticed you skipped the urgent matters, so. You failed to call the urgent matters? Well, sorry, don't use the word fail, but you did not.
Okay, I hadn't seen anything there, but let's do this vote, then we might come to the urgent. We'll revert to the urgent matter. Thank you. All those in favour? I declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, let's go to 13, matters of an urgent nature. Is there anyone who wishes to raise a matter of an urgent nature?
Mr Mayor, I just wanted to raise the matter that has been briefly circulated around us today. I note that the closing date for community submissions on the special rate variation is in 2 days' time. I presume midnight or close of business. My suggestion, which arose independently from Councillor Robinson's, but I'm pretty sure Councillor Robinson and I agree, is could we not, without making any difference to staff convenience, actually extend that to midnight on the long weekend, which is Monday, I think the 3rd. The reason I'm putting this forward for councillors' consideration, and I do think it is an urgent matter, is because it's so close. That is that we've actually lost our monarch this month, and I think a lot of people in our community have taken time off. Do you want me to talk or wait?
Sorry, I'm just working out whether we need a seconder for whether you're putting a motion forward or whether you're just...
Oh, sorry. Yep.
So
sure.
I am listening. I'm trying to do
No, it's all right.
I realise it's a little off-putting. Why don't you continue?
No, it's okay.
Thank you. I reckon you're leading to something. Sorry, Councillor O'Connor, please proceed.
I'm only leading to what I just suggested, that we move a motion to the effect that we extend the closing date till midnight on the 3rd of October, which I think would maybe compensate to some extent with the loss of time over the unexpected and unscheduled public holiday day of mourning for the death of Queen Elizabeth, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on the 22nd. That's 1 day lost. I think it's probably a matter of public notice that a lot of people who would be inclined to make submissions might have lost some time this month actually following the formalities relating to this very, very historic event for our nation, as well as the Commonwealth and Britain, with the change of monarch and the death of our beloved Queen. So I just thought it's not going to make a lot of difference, and it would be a sign of goodwill to our community to give them a little bit more time. And I just asked councillors if they would be willing to support that. It's not drastic, radical, but it would, I think, really assist a lot of people who, have lost time this month unexpectedly.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. So just for clarity, the motion that you wish to move is that the closing date for submissions on the SRB be extended to the 3rd of October.
Correct.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Now, Councillor O'Connor, you've spoken to that. Councillor Robinson, would you like to speak to this as well?
Oh, I will.
Very briefly, I know that I'm always far too busy and can never get everything done in time. And I have had various experiences when I've had to put in submissions to the New South Wales government. And I find that having to do it by 5 o'clock or 10 o'clock or midnight on a Friday, what I end up doing is swearing. Well, I won't say I'm swearing, but I'd say not very helpful things to the New South Wales government because of the unnecessary imposition that is put on me personally. And I really have empathy with the residents of this community, and I wouldn't like to think they were doing the same to council. So unless there's any good reason, unless council staff, and through you, Mr Mayor, maybe I will ask the General Manager whether there's any work planned to be done on the SRV submissions over the long weekend. And if there isn't, then maybe just extending it till midnight on Monday night would be a compromise that doesn't bother anybody, but just gives everybody a bit of time and helps with the people feel that we are empathetic and listening to what they say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. I'll ask Mr General Manager to make a response to your question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't know whether, I mean, I certainly won't be working on them over the long weekend, but that's not to say that other members of the staff won't be. I can't answer that question for you. I don't know what people are up to.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone else have anything to say? Councillor Witters?
I'm going to speak against it. Fair enough to say that it was a historic occasion of a monarch who's been around for 70 years passing away, taking some time off some of our community members, but it's also like saying because we have a local star on A Farmer Wants a Wife at the moment, that a lot of people are spending their time watching that and taking some time away from that. So there's been plenty of opportunities to speak in regards to the SRV. I'm pretty sure there's been a lot of community meetings over the last couple of weeks. It's been out for a while. I'm sure a unplanned long weekend that most of us took to mourn or to celebrate or whatever you did isn't going to stop people from putting in their submissions for what has been a very divisive issue as it is.
Thank you, Councillor Witters. Councillor Gillespie.
I was just trying to Google the actual meaning of urgent. I'm sure this doesn't really come under that urgent capacity that I know of, and I think it's a bit of a fiasco that you're even putting this up. I really don't see what it gains or misses or whatever, and I would have presumed that if you had a bit of a holiday and you weren't working, you might have had a bit more time to look at it. So it would definitely work in the other way, but I think we've got to get a bit of the word urgent. I can't see the urgency in this, I'm afraid. So I most definitely won't be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Gillespie. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Connor, any?
Yeah, I'll just say I think it's the chair of the meeting who's the mayor's discretion as to whether he feels it's an urgent matter or not. I don't remember the date that Her Majesty died, but I think it was before the opportunity. I don't really think there was an opportunity to put a formal notice of motion on. But anyway, what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, look, I was just going to say that having more submissions is better in terms of what we're going to evidence it's going to go forward to IPART if the decision is ultimately made to press the matter to an application to IPART. I just can't see how it can be anything but advantageous to our community and to council itself in its application for an SRV.
Thank you. Look, as we've spent the time, let's call it urgent. Let's put it to a vote. All those in favour of extending the closing date? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those against? I'll assume I declare the motion lost. 4-7. Thank you. All right. That brings us to the conclusion of the open session. And I would now like to move into a closed session. But first of all, thank you to the public for their attendance. I'd ask you to leave the room whilst we get underway. And if resolved, we'll get underway. Thank you, Councillor Robinson, and seconded Councillor O'Brien. Could I put it to a vote? All those in favour of moving into closed session, thank you. Declare that carried. I don't know if there's anyone outside, is there? Please invite her back in, can you? No. Oh, we've got a winner, I reckon. Alex Manners is out. Melissa Holt is the winner so far. I'd now like to ask the General Manager to read out the resolutions of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 15.1, Mayoral Minute, New England Regional Arts Museum Capital Works Program request for support. Resolved by Council that 1. Council endorses NERAM's plan for a major capital works program, building a new NERAM. 2. Council is willing to provide in-kind support for the project. The extent of the support will be subject to discussion as the project takes shape. And 3. Council provides a letter of intent to NERAM confirming that a decision to extend the current funding agreement be made by April 2026. Item number 2, 15.2, engagement of an acting project director for Kempsey Road project. Resolved by Council that Council approve the extended engagement of Ken Fox, FMP Consulting Proprietary Limited, as an acting project director up to the end of December 2022, with an option to extend to July 2023 if delays are experienced in procuring client-side replacement resources. B. Endorse the variation of the existing contract of FMP Consulting Proprietary Limited to an estimated expenditure of $249,040, including GST, in addition to the original contract value of $332,500, including GST. C. Delegate authority to the General Manager to approve the expenditure for the project and FMP Consulting Proprietary Limited up to $581,540, including GST, available from the EPA Kempsey Road Recovery Works Fund provided by Transport for New South Wales. And D, delegate authority to the General Manager to extend the contract at a total weekly cost of $11,320, including GST, until the tender process for the engagement of ARC client-side resources for main recovery works project director, senior project manager, site officers and administrative staff have been completed in the tender awarded by Council. 15.3, Appledale Project Clearing and Grubbing Tender. Resolved by Council that A, note the engagement of OS Tree Proprietary Limited for clearing and grubbing works totalling $241,560, including GST, and delegate authority to the General Manager to approve expenditure for the works up to the total budget available of $300,000. Item 15.4. The Armidale Regional Airport Security Screening Fee charges by commercial agreement. Resolved by Council that ensure cost recovery of airport security screening to RPT service providers. B, authorise the General Manager to commence engagement with RPT service providers and relevant stakeholders of ARC's intent to commence charging security screening fees on expiry of the federal government grant in December 2022, with the first month billing January 2023, and formalise charges with RPT service providers in individual commercial agreements. And item 15.5, Mr Mayor, the lease extension and fit-out contribution value for Grafton Road Depot by tenant Backtrack Youth Works. Resolved by Council that Council agree to exercise the next 5-year lease option early, totalling $6,784 for 7 years from 2022 to 2029 for the lease of the Grafton Road Depot, and agree to the proposed fit-out works to Council asset with a project value of $366,000 ex-GST to be managed by Backtrack Youth Works. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Well, if there is no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 5:09. Thank you all. Thank you, Gal.